When people think of freediving movies, they often picture danger, drama, and people pushing themselves to the absolute limit. And yes, there are plenty of freediving movies that show just that, but freediving is also beautiful. It's artistic, it's cultural, it's a way to connect with the ocean, with your body, and with something so much bigger than just yourself. So today, we're looking at freediving movies, documentaries, shows, and even a few pop culture moments that show freediving in a more inspiring light. Some of these are about world records, some are about coastal communities, some are underwater art, and some might just make you want to grab a mask, take a breath, and dive right in. Hi, I'm Zoe from the Molchanov's team, and here are 15 inspiring freediving movies and documentaries to add to your watch list. First on the list is Freediver. This documentary follows Alexey Molchanov as he attempts to break multiple world records in 1 year. What makes Freediver so powerful is that it's not just about numbers, depth, or records. It's also about discipline, legacy, and what it takes to dedicate your entire life to something as demanding as freediving. This film also explores Alexey's connection with his mother, Natalia Molchanova, one of the greatest freedivers of all time, and how her legacy continues to shape his career and the sport itself. For anyone who wants to explore elite freediving beyond the headlines, this is a beautiful place to start. Next is Coexistence, When We Breathe Together, by Anne-Sophie Moreau, a Molchanov's ambassador. This one is a very different kind of freediving documentary because it connects breath hold diving with ocean conservation, coral restoration, and community. Rather than focusing on competition or records, Coexistence shows how freediving can be used as a tool for something so much bigger, protecting the underwater world that we love. It's a reminder that freediving isn't only about what we can achieve underwater, but how we can care for the ocean while we're there. Of course, we have to include The Big Blue. This is one of the most iconic freediving films ever made, and for many people, it was their first introduction into the world of deep diving. Inspired by legendary freedivers Jacques Mayol and Enzo Maiorca, The Big Blue captures the romance, obsession, mystery, and emotional pull of the sea. It does have a more dramatic tone, so it's not exactly freediving is easy and relaxing, but its impact on freediving culture is undeniable. Even decades later, it still represents the idea that some people don't just visit the ocean, they feel like they belong there. If The Big Blue makes you curious about the real person behind the story, then Dolphin Man is a great follow-up. This documentary explores the life and philosophy of Jacques Mayol, whose approach to freediving was deeply connected to dolphins, breath, and the human relationship with the sea. It's less about competition and more about the inner world of freediving. The film looks at Mayol's belief that freediving isn't just a sport, but a way to discover something ancient within ourselves. For viewers interested in a more philosophical approach to freediving, Dolphin Man is a fantastic watch. Next one is One Breath Around the World by Guillaume Néry and Julie Gauthier. This short film is less of a documentary and more of an underwater dream. It takes you through caves, ruins, ice, marine life, and unreal underwater scenery, all on a single breath. There's no need for heavy narration or dramatic explanation. The visuals speak for themselves. It shows freediving as graceful, meditative, and almost otherworldly. If you've ever tried to explain to someone why freediving feels so magical, this is the kind of film you show them. Another beautiful film by Julie Gauthier is Armor. This isn't a traditional freediving film, but it absolutely belongs on this list. Performed underwater, Armor combines dance, breath hold, movement, and emotion in a way that feels completely unique. It shows what becomes possible when freediving moves beyond sport and becomes art. There's no depth line, no competition, no record attempt, just a body, a breath, and an underwater space transformed into a stage. Now this one might surprise some people, but Avatar: The Way of the Water belongs here. It's obviously not a freediving movie in the traditional sense, but freediving played a huge role behind the scenes. The actors trained in breath hold diving to perform underwater, and freediving techniques helped bring the ocean-dwelling Na'vi to life in a much more realistic way. James Cameron even asked freediving pro athlete William Trowbridge to consult on the film. For many viewers, Avatar made underwater movement look powerful, graceful, and natural. And even though it's science fiction, the connection to breath, water, family, and ocean culture feels very familiar to anyone who freedives. Episode 3 of Adventure on Apple TV follows Ant Williams during an under-ice breath hold dive. This one definitely has an extreme setting, but the most interesting part isn't the cold or the record attempt. It's the preparation. Under-ice diving requires serious training, safety support, mental control, and respect for the environment. So while the episode is intense, it's still plenty inspiring when you look at the planning and discipline behind the dive. It's a good reminder that freediving is never just about holding your breath. It's about knowing yourself, your limits, and your team. Another ice diving documentary is Hold Your Breath, The Ice Dive, which follows Finnish freediver Joanna Nordblad. Joanna's story is especially interesting because the film connects her diving with resilience, recovery, and personal transformation. Yes, the environment is extreme, but the heart of the story is much more human than that. It's about how the water became part of her healing process and how training, trust, and focus can help someone move through fear and discomfort. For anyone drawn to the mental side of freediving, this one's worth the watch. Netflix's Home Game has an episode dedicated to freediving in the Philippines. This is a great inclusion because it shows freediving not just as a competitive sport, but something connected to culture, livelihood, identity, and everyday life. For many coastal communities, diving on one breath isn't a hobby or a trend, it's a skill passed down through generations. This episode gives viewers a broader perspective of what freediving can mean around the world. It's not always about records. Sometimes it's about survival, tradition, and belonging to the sea. Jago, A Life Underwater, tells the story of Rahani, a Bajau Laut fisherman who spent much of his life diving on a single breath. This documentary is a beautiful reminder that freediving existed long before modern competitions, wetsuits, and depth lines. For ocean communities like the Bajau, breath hold diving is part of a much older relationship with the sea. The film is visually beautiful, but it's also deeply human. It shows freediving as knowledge, heritage, and a way of life. The Last of the Sea Women follows the Haenyeo divers of Jeju Island in South Korea. These women have been diving without tanks for generations, harvesting from the sea and protecting a tradition that is now at risk of disappearing. What makes this documentary so inspiring is the strength and sisterhood of the women at its center. Many of the Haenyeo are older women, and they continue to dive with incredible skill, courage, and connection to the ocean. It's a powerful reminder that freediving isn't just about youth, competition, or athleticism. It can also be about community, tradition, and pride. Ama-san gives us another cultural perspective, this time through the Japanese Ama divers. The film is quiet and observational, following women who dive without tanks to gather seafood, continuing a tradition that has existed for centuries. There is a calmness to this documentary that feels very different to many modern sport films. It's not trying to make freediving look extreme. Instead, it shows breath hold diving as work, ritual, and connection. For viewers who love the slower, more reflective style of ocean storytelling, this one's a beautiful choice. My Octopus Teacher isn't technically a freediving film, but freediving is central to the story. The documentary follows Craig Foster as he returns day after day to a kelp forest in South Africa, diving without scuba gear and slowly developing a connection with a wild octopus. What makes this film so powerful is how intimate the underwater world becomes. Because he's freediving, the encounters feel quiet, natural, and deeply present. For non-freedivers, this may be one of the most inspiring films on the list because it shows that freediving can be a doorway into a completely different relationship with the ocean. And finally, we have to give an honorary mention to H2O Just Add Water. Is it a freediving documentary? Absolutely not. Is it scientifically accurate? No, Cleo. But did it make an entire generation of ocean kids want to become mermaids and feel completely at home in the water? Yes, and you're looking at one. So whilst it might not teach you anything about equalization, it absolutely belongs here as a nostalgic reminder that sometimes the first spark of curiosity comes from the most unexpected places. So those are some of the most inspiring freediving movies, documentaries, and shows to add to your watch list. Some show freediving as elite performance, some show it as art, some show it as culture, conservation, healing, or a way to feel more connected to the ocean. And that's really the beauty of freediving. It's not just one thing. It can be a sport, a tradition, a creative outlet, or simply a way to experience the underwater world on one breath. If one of these films inspires you to try freediving for yourself, make sure you begin with proper training and a qualified instructor. A Molchanov's Wave 1 course is a perfect place to start, where you'll learn the fundamentals of freediving safely, step by step. And before you book a course, you can also use the Check Your Instructor tool on the Molchanov's dashboard to ensure that your instructor has an active certification. Let us know in the comments which freediving film is your favorite, or if we missed one that you think deserves to be on the list. And don't forget to subscribe to the Molchanov's YouTube channel for more freediving education, training, and inspiration. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the water.